You had a nice rest, and sun's up. Ah, yeah, not bad. You're in the barracks, an old, underutilized building, or rather, a room within the building that counts as a sort of guard headquarters sort of thing with the human city of Hope. Would you all like
Well,
to take any preparations? There has been a knock on the door, and trays of food have been offered. Any special requests?
nothing special.
You don't want a last meal?
Wow. No, I was just saying nothing special. Just whatever's there.
Okay. Yeah, it's a selection of fruits and various grains and some nuts and some somewhat salty meats, but whatever.
I give Fionn my meats.
There's also
Sure, we've had
curds.
worse.
If anybody's curious about curds, so.
Ooh.
Oh, if you don't
We've
want to
had
be on
worse.
that.
Birds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely some kind of goat, probably, but that's fine.
Oh no.
They're fresh. Well,
Delicious.
it's goat milk, Lee. Like it's not.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. I heard meats and then I heard some kind of goats, and I was concerned.
No, it's some sort of goat curd that likely the remainder would be pressed into a cheese, but this is some good decent pot cheese.
Some good dairy. Love it.
Well, you're guests of the king.
Indeed, under the that I have made in our little cell. Nice room. It is a nice room with
It's the nicest room they have with a lock on it, sort of, in this building. There's nothing more they can offer, really. They bent over backwards in a way. They've done everything except, a pardon.
I'm locking this up.
After not too long, there's another knock on the door, and on the other side is a relatively short human fellow, disheveled hair, somewhat older, with a brown tunic and brown overcoat and just brown. He's just brown, and with a brown eye patch, smoking a cigar.
Oh, Peter.
Yep, it's Peter.
I didn't hear who it was. All I heard was it sounded like you cut out. So I was like, "Who's this human?"
It's fine. He's a what?
He said a lot of brown. You said a lot of brown.
A lot of brown. So much brown. He's just wearing different shades of brown all over.
I'm just looking at me like, color suits you.
You suspect it's probably just because that's just kind of the color the fabric was, and he just didn't want to pay to have any of it dyed or anything like that. He's just a very simple and pragmatic man.
Fiona.
I mean, I get that.
Fiona finishes the makeshift sandwich he's made out of the foods offered and puts out a cigar against the table and looks up at him. It's time then.
Well, I thought we could have a little talk first. If that's all right with you.
Yeah, come on in.
Speak all you wish.
He comes in. He says, "Thank you."
Oh,
And
offer him a chair.
He sees the plate of food and he says, "Yeah, if you don't mind, I've had a busy morning. May I?"
Help yourself.
Thank you. And
We got extra meats too. Molly doesn't eat meat.
he grabs a piece of what is essentially beef jerky, roughly the size of the cigar, and then just trades hand to hand.
Nice.
And he turns over a bucket that is unused. He does make sure it's unused before turning it over. And
I offered him a
sits on it.
seat.
No, he just sits on the bucket. He's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. He says, "So, you understand we're going to have the trial.
Yeah,
Right?
we get it.
It could be a lot easier if you confess."
confess
Well,
to?
To be fair, there isn't much to confess about. I
Well,
was on the roof.
I
will
don't know
admit
about that.
I did kill 2 individuals. I get that.
Yeah.
But as far as trying to kill the king,
Who said anything about killing the
Oh.
king?
he's already learned about it.
Well, I don't think he had said that you were charged with attempting to kill the king.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, if anybody's talking about it and we're
We're not
literally
dumb.
locked in a room,
Mhm.
Yeah, we're not dumb. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was in there during the discussion with the king and everybody, and I'm pretty sure it got brought up.
And
Says,
it probably
I
got
see,
written
I
down
see.
real well.
See that? I was almost certain that it was brought up at some point, but I honestly don't remember.
It was brought up, the king brought it up, but
Okay.
they didn't really, I mean, it wasn't directly alluded to. Anyway,
Okay. My bad.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep the knowledge separate.
but he says, so why were you on the roof then?
Just gathering information.
For what?
Do they know about the queen? They don't. They don't know about her.
Help me understand.
When Molly was inside of the room, was Peter in there with the discussion with Muhammad and
I think he was.
With the king?
yeah? Oh no. When Muhammad went to go talk to the queen
No.
about all of it, he wasn't in there.
No, he was with the king.
But yeah,
Okay.
he was with the king while I was talking to the king, so he did hear the king say, "Oh, I know you were trying to kill me," or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Oh, it was about to break. Well, just what do you think, Theon? Should I just tell him everything?
I mean, I don't know. That's up to you guys. I'm just trying to think of what they already know and what's already been revealed. Trying to figure it out.
There's
That's
not an
why I
echo
asked
or
Theon.
anything coming through, is there?
For me,
I don't hear anything.
Okay, good. Because my light keeps lighting up.
Weird. Okay.
yeah, I'm not noticing any echo on your part. So
All right. Okay, that's good.
Well,
Well, I'll just give Fiona a look. Fiona and Molly, since you're in there too. I'll just kind of give you guys a look like, should we just tell him?
I did already tell Mika everything, so I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of just content, clean about everything, and just getting everything out of the way, I guess.
So he already knows everything about the queen and whatnot.
Maybe not so much the queen.
Now, just to be clear, I know you guys are not having this conversation in character, but
Yeah. This is just trying to recall information
mm-hmm,
that's already been given.
mm-hmm.
yeah, what I know of any languages that
Some draconic.
Oramus and Fionn would share that I would think that these guys wouldn't share, because like
Elvish, maybe.
because I would
Maybe Elvish.
I would think
Speak Elvish.
yeah, I speak Elvish because Fearbolt.
Oh. Yeah. It's just a matter of them not speaking that language. They are a hideous human city, capital town.
Yeah, they are a human city, but because they have at least some amount of dragonborns, and dragons, it's entirely possible that Draconic is on the list. But yeah, maybe Elvish.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna risk it. Well, I mean, we're here to speak our piece. Speak your piece.
Well, would it be advantageous to bring up what you're doing for Bahamut, or were you sworn not to talk about that? Why, how you guys got here, why you guys are here, about the heart and all that?
Did we swear that on Muhammad?
I don't know, but this seems like the kind of information he might be asking for as well.
Yeah, like
Right now, he's asking why you're on the roof.
Okay.
Yes, that's all he's asking is, you're on the roof to get information. What information?
We have a very big mission to accomplish currently.
I don't
He
know.
nods.
I can't be of help.
And
And what is this mission? You can trust me.
I'm not sure.
Here's the thing: we don't know who we can trust.
Yeah, and I mean,
Like-
this is kind of a mission that spans nations.
Oh man, my head hurts.
I see. I see.
So
I understand.
just to give you a
So
reason
you
why
were
we're
doing
even
something. So you were doing something on top of the roof that you can't tell me about because it was for another nation.
No. That was all wrong. No, okay. Just to break it down, have you ever heard of Tiamat and Bahamut?
He says, I've spent all night hearing about Tiamat and Bahamut. Yeah.
So you know that we came here to help in some regard as much as we can to prevent Tiamat from coming here to warn those who direly need to know and to try and bring back Bahamut.
That's the gist of what that woman that says she's a dragon said, I think.
That is Bahamut. Okay. Now, you said I can trust you. I trust you with that information and to not take it to anyone. Ever.
He's like, what,
Because
what information? You already told me about it. I'm just asking why you're on the roof.
Hey guys,
what's up?
would you guys? I know Lee's not
On the
here,
plus
but,
side.
but would you guys be interested to know?
It's already full,
what-
isn't it? Yeah, it's already full. Shit. Yeah, we already started it too. Fuck. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Go again, Lee. What?
Oh, I said I know Lee's not there, but would any of you guys be interested to know what would Lee do? If any of you asked yourselves that question, what would Lee do?
honestly, I think Fionn would ask himself the question, what would Lee do?
I think Lee would probably think Bahamut is a god of justice. This is the time to be honest and basically cast a what do you call it?
Zone of truth.
Yeah, and basically just tell them everything. Like, we are working for Bahamut because Tiamat is coming here with an army. In order to work with the government here, we thought our only option was to work with the queen who wanted to get rid of the king. And we needed to work with the government here so that we could protect the City of Hope and the humans. Essentially, we were trying to save the city by getting the government to work with us in some capacity. And we're working with the god of justice.
Yeah, I was thinking to kind of give him like mostly information and like give it to him kind of
See, I just don't want to word it incorrectly because, like I said, Ormus is charismatic. He's charming. He knows how to word things, but I do not.
That's fair. That's fair. Actually, I think Lee would spill everything.
I think Fionn is going to step in and like put a hand on Ormus's shoulder and just kind of nod at him.
I don't know if that's gonna work for you guys, but I think that's what Lee would probably do if that helps.
Well, I mean, I was thinking as Fionn about doing it, and Fionn does often ask himself, what would Lee do? Because Fionn had a questionable past and used him as a Jiminy Cricket of sorts.
I think it's low information. I think you're making a lot of noise.
What was that, Molly? You just cut in and out like mad.
There's a lot of background noise.
Fionn will put his hand on Ormish's shoulder and he'll nod and he'll say, yeah, put it all out. There's no way that we can word this fancily. We'll just have to deal with the consequences if they decide to twist our words.
All right, fair enough. I was on the roof looking for weaknesses.
I I think that is not the best way to approach this.
weaknesses in the defense, because in the long run, we are here working with Bahamut. And we needed the government's help, the correct government, and the correct authority. And after having spoke with the king and having spoke with the queen, who sees what's best for this town, the city,
Well,
while we're here to defend it.
I hang on. I want to hear what are you saying, young lady? You disagree with what he says?
I mean, I feel like there's probably not as much right and wrong here. A lot of gray area. We ended up the queen ended up enlisting.
Hang on a second.
I gotta mute somebody.
Yeah, hang on a second. It's every time noise goes on, Mollymore's mic goes to 0, and it's very frustrating. I can't hear.
Yeah.
It keeps bouncing back and forth. Could you try again,
I'll just
Mollymore?
mute my mic.
All right, thanks, Lorimus.
1 second. There's a setting for that. I'm checking.
Yeah, it keeps coming back and forth, and it's usually just yours.
Well, I don't think there's really a right and wrong here. It's kind of a gray area because, like, I don't think what we're doing is exactly as right as it could be. But the queen enlisted us to do something that I don't feel is right for a good reason.
Again, I would say, like, if you're gonna tell him that, you should tell him everything. I think Yonder made the point the other week about full measures and half measures. I think this is the kind of full measure situation, because going half measure on this would just get you in trouble.
Give him the full bucket of water, but I'm not gonna dump it all on him. I'm gonna pour it out on him.
Tactfully. I got you.
So see,
Slowly. That's kind of what I was trying to do and lead up to.
basically, we, in order to work with the highest power, we're given conditions to meet in order to get their support. Is the long and the short of
protect
it.
the city.
Yes, because ultimately we believe that Tiamat is coming to attack the city, and we believe that with a pretty high percentage of certainty.
And she's coming probably very soon.
And that
Last we saw her was where again?
in passing by Bakata.
Yeah. Was that on the boats that we were at, or was that before the boats?
I believe that was information given to us by Philbin after he went out to scout very far and came back like at sunset, and was like, "Yeah, I see the Morningstar ships passing by."
Okay, yeah.
And that condition given to us is that we incapacitate the king in some aspects because he's not a great ruler. And by not a great ruler, he's not a he is pretty much incompetent. These aren't. Keep in mind, these are not my words.
I
And
was,
to be fair, we
Hang on,
We
let
were gonna
Mollymore
bring
say
it
her
back.
thing.
I can't.
I was in the room with Bahamut and.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry, your mic just keeps cutting out because Lee's echoing, and every time he echoes, your mic goes away. I can't hear a thing you're saying.
I keep trying different things with settings, but none of them are working, so I'm just gonna
Sorry,
here. Does that work?
I don't know yet. Say again, Mollymore.
What was I saying? Oh,
Okay.
I was in the room with Bahamut and the Queen, and apparently it was some discussion about the king isn't making progress on a wall, something to do with defenses or something.
I see. I see.
She kind of felt that the only way to make that wall happen at this point was to keep him from stopping it, and that
Well, not only that, but like he's wasting resources, pissing away gold, and that it was like what 10 years since the previous king passed away, and it still hasn't gotten done.
yeah, that's
Mind
the
him,
thing.
the last commandment of that previous king was to build that wall, and nothing's hardly been done about it. This is out of character, by the way, because Ormus doesn't know. Just a reminder.
Can I let me check my spells real quick. Verbal somatic. Can I whisper something under my breath with my hands under the table to cast detect magic?
It's not really much in the way of a tape, but
I mean, even behind my back, just as long as I can hide that I'm casting it.
Well,
You'd have to do probably.
I'll let you make a sleight of hand check if you want.
Okay.
you have it once a day, right? Because it's like a racial trait or something. That works a little differently than if you just know a spell, does it?
Well, it's just
He's
basically
still
it.
casting it.
Yeah. It doesn't use a spell slot because it's racial, but I still have to cast it.
Okay, it was a thought.
I was gonna ask, when you guys admitted to trying to kill the king for the queen, did you also bring up that you were planning on?
I was going to bring it back because of Molly.
Okay, I didn't know if you already mentioned that you were going to like basically like fake his death essentially.
Yeah,
That sleight of hand check was a 19.
Okay.
I would have brought it up, and if not, and I'll bring it up now. And it's like, well, one of the conditions that we actually made in order to do it, thanks to Molly here, is that we would, in fact, bring the king back somewhere else later on and let him live out his life somewhere else. Hopefully, not coming back here.
As something else, because I don't know how to like bring people back to life as they were,
That
but
too.
I could
Minor details.
incarnate him.
And what are you looking for, Fionn?
Just to make sure that, basically, I'm trying to make sure that this guy isn't this guy's selfed, or there's no magical bugs in the room with him, or anything like that he brought in.
He's
with
not.
him.
He doesn't appear to be disguised, and there don't appear to be any magical bugs. But you imagine, as the lieutenant of the king, possibly even in many ways the right hand man and acting agent in the entire kingdom, his word will be binding, and your confession to him is as good as evidence against you. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, my main worry was that like through some magical recording device, they would take and edit our words into, yeah, we wanted to kill the king out of cold blood, you know.
Well, you did just say that you wanted to kill the king. That's good enough for an execution. So he's satisfied. Confession's a confession, and you included Mollymort, so it's now all three of you instead of just Ormus and Fionn. So thumbs up. But he nods along and he says, "Well, I guess that settles it. I'll head out now, and we'll come get you in a little bit."
Wait, before you do,
Hmm?
before you do, I'm not really sure like how much of this should be public knowledge.
He says, "Well, we're a very transparent culture. It'll all be public. We'll say it to the people, and the people will vote, as is our way."
Like that. But also, I'm sorry for getting you guys killed.
No, that's fine. We would have probably told anyway, but not your fault, man.
Hopefully, it would only have gotten him killed, but you know.
Yeah. So he says, "Will there be anything else? Any last words, as it is?"
Well,
Well, we would like to speak to Bahamut, I'm sure, before this.
I'm not so sure that's a good
Go.
idea.
No, but he should know at least what told here.
Yeah.
Kind of scary.
He says, "Well, I'll let that Mika lady know, and well, it was a pleasure meeting you all." And he nods and he gives a wave, a
Uh,
smile, and
Go
walks up.
see if I
Goes
can
to the
shake
door.
his hand.
Before you go, I kind of did time myself into this. So, do you want to get your eye taken care of now in case you don't have another chance?
Oh, I, you understand that I'm still gonna do what I gotta do, even if you do that. I don't want you to feel
She's
like
not
you
doing
have
it to
to.
butter you up.
Yeah,
She's too kind.
an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind.
Make a perception, or rather, persuasion check.
Can she get it with advantage since I was talking and helping? Trying to at least.
Not really. You're
Okay.
you murdered someone in front of him. He's you being persuasive is not going to help too much. He wants to trust Molly. He's sad to hear that she's involved in a conspiracy.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, I rolled a 2, but I am going to, I think for the first or second time, I'm going to use
You're what?
my luck, my lucky feat.
Okay. Can you use that on a 2?
I don't see why not.
Somebody is
Oh yeah, you can re-roll.
screaming outside of my house.
Sure.
It's very strange. But yeah, you can use lucky if you like. I mean, obviously, it's your thing.
What did you say it was? Persuasion?
Persuasion.
That makes it a 13.
That is pretty darn good.
I wouldn't say so, but it's definitely better than a 2 made 3.
That's sort of the spirit in which I meant it. So he says, "Well, I'm a bit hesitant. Magic and all. It's not really my thing. And it's unusual circumstances.
Well, yeah, the world's an unusual place right now.
Uh, how about this? If you let me talk to someone first, I'll try to come back before they take you all out."
Alright, and I mean, like, if you want to bring some. Well, I guess there wouldn't be anybody around who would be able to identify different kinds of magic to know. I don't know, I guess people don't trust magic around here, I'm guessing.
He says, "Well, no, we've got a fair amount of magic, but healing's not something that's a part of it. It's not that. I'm gonna tell someone what you told me in case you try to wipe my memory or something."
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't see why he's worried about his memory being wiped when we readily gave him that information.
Caution
Because
is
like we could have just lied. Like wiping his memory now would not serve any purpose.
Well, he's paranoid. What do you want him to do?
No, that's fair.
I mean,
All
he
right,
says,
that's
"Well,
my fault.
if y'all would be, if y'all are willing to confess to the king, then we don't have to worry about me being a witness. Would that be better?"
I look at the guys. Then
Might hear more.
Bahamut didn't. Well, when I was with Bahamut and the Queen, he kind of like waved his hand and like didn't want me to say the whole story to the king. So I'm not sure that's such a good. Well, I guess if it is like that or death, it's probably a good, better idea to say that. But I don't like dealing with Bahamut. He is scary.
I'd say just let him go.
He holds up a hand and he says, "Oh, you don't understand. You have been hired by true conspirators. You're not the the bad folk. It's bad, yeah, but you didn't go too far. If you confess and you give up the queen and the Mika woman, you'll just spend a little bit of time in jail, and that'll be all.
Mika had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, Mika, the queen actually.
Was highly against it.
Yeah, the queen.
He holds up his hand and he says, "If you'll excuse me, I was there when she lied to the king. That or you're lying to me now. So which is it?"
No, straight up, the queen just told us not to tell Bahamut or Mika.
You weren't even there.
That confrontation happened because I did tell Mika what happened, and that was her finding out, and I think she is going to tell the king before long, and she is going to put an end to it.
But for now, she knew the king was in danger and she lied. That makes her a co-conspirator after the fact.
No.
No,
Mika
she
knew nothing
had
about it.
no idea.
Yeah, and but by the time she knew,
He says, but she knows now, and she lied to the king.
the king wasn't in danger when that all happened.
The king is always in danger.
Not from us. He wasn't.
He's looking at the three of you like you're not a danger. Really?
Hashtag.
The Bahamut is the one that's basically trying to tell the queen, no, you can't do that. Cut that out. If you do that, then bad things will happen, and I'm not gonna be with you.
Then Bahamut is protecting the real traitor.
Bahamut is protecting the king.
And the kingdom.
And the traitor.
I guess he kind of is.
Out of character, I don't see the like. Bahamut did not know until the meeting room.
But Bahamut did say that we meant no harm.
Bahamut explicitly lied to the king, and you all contradicted what Bahamut said.
I was going to tell the king everything, but Bahamut put his hand out and basically told me not to say anything, and he said his part and excluded the part that the queen was trying to get him killed.
But to Bahamut's point of view, you all didn't mean harm to the king in a sense. You just wanted to make him not be king, which is minimal in terms of harm, but beneficial to the world. So from Bahamut's point of view, it's kind of true, but a stretch. But certainly the kind of stretch that a lawful good god of justice is willing to do for the greater good.
Yeah, I feel like he would have very much wrought havoc if he found out that we did go through with it.
Well, it's entirely possible. But currently, he is in basically saying so. Rather, the Lieutenant Peter continues. Whether the Mika woman started it or not, she lied to the king. And what you're saying is the queen, right now, wants to kill the king. Or at least did.
She probably still does, but Bahamut is probably telling her no.
And I'm telling you, what you told me, that's a good start. I'll happily present that to the people. They'll vote. They can decide. Or,
Like I said, the
if
only
you want,
reason why
you could just tell all this to the king, and we can just skip the trial. He's a merciful guy.
Is he?
Oh.
Didn't know this.
I mean, I do feel that there is some merit to that, in that then we don't have to, because like Bahamut seemed to want us to keep our mission to resurrect him on the down low, and I don't think letting all of Hope know basically that he is Bahamut and wants to be revived in his full dragon form is a good idea.
I mean,
Unfortunately, it seems like they're about to have a trial, and This guy seems like he's going to say every word you just said to him
Yeah,
to everyone in the city.
like that's out the window at this point. Like,
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of thinking they have the right to know. I don't know. That's just my mind. Like they should know so that they can prepare.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. We did tell Bahamut that Tiamat was coming and everything.
But
Well, so this is out of character. We can tell, like, I'm all for talking to the king, but only if Bahamut is there. But I don't know about
he
in
says,
character.
I'm sure that can be arranged.
No, that was out of character.
Oh,
That's why I
well,
said that before.
if you
I just
say it
talked to
in
the-
character, I'm sure he'll say, I'm sure that can be arranged. Out of character,
That, well,
say something in
I'm just
character and
telling.
find out.
that was just for them. Like that. This is where I stand. Where do you guys stand?
I'd
Lee
agree
says
with that.
something, but no one hears it because he's really far away.
Exactly.
What'd you say, Theon?
I'd agree with that. Like, excuse me, I'm okay with talking to the king, but I really want Bahamut to be there.
Molly?
I kind of agree with that, and I mean, I imagine it would be upsetting for the king if we told everybody else at the same time as him that, you know, everything that's going on, including that us, tried to kill him and that it was the queen that hired us. I feel like that would be upsetting for him.
So, what do you say?
All right, I'll say that. I'll say, yeah. We'll talk to the king and tell him everything that we just told you. Only if Mika or Bahamut is there.
As if you already know, he says, I'm sure that can be arranged.
As a side note, when you refer to killing the king, you might want to say something a little less
Inflammatory?
Yeah,
A little
that's,
less incriminating.
that's why when I
Like,
said it, I said
technically-
incapacitate.
Like technically, you
Temporarily
might-
unliving?
Yeah, you might not say you're going to kill him or wanted to kill him. You might say dethrone, maybe. That's a little bit more accurate and a little bit lighter because you were going to kill him, but in essence, you weren't going to kill him because you're going to resurrect him. So
We just wanted to change his occupation. That's all.
you just wanted to give you an
Introduce a
occupation.
jobs program. All right, so he leaves you amongst your thoughts for some time.
Quick question: did they confiscate the weapons that we had on us when we left?
Presumably, yeah, they did at least take your weapons. But
uh,
on your word that you would not attempt to escape.
No, I thought less
Hmm?
or all of our equipment. I thought they let us keep our equipment at least.
Yeah,
yeah,
your equipment, but I'm pretty sure they would have
But
taken
stuff that we-
some of your weapons. If you don't recall that, then it's entirely possible they let you have them. But again, on your word that you would not,
Yeah.
you would not resist.
yeah. I just want to make sure that, like, if they were taken, I know that they were taken because, like, you know, specifically last night as they, you know, locked us in the room. Before that, at any point during the walk there, would they have, you know, thought to search us, pat us down?
I think I remember them not now, but I'm pretty sure I remember Thumal asking for your weapons. I could be wrong about that though. When they picked you up, does
Yeah.
anybody else remember that? Or
I
am
think they
crazy?
just escorted you back.
Yeah.
But we didn't cover it. But I assure you, they would have taken your weapons.
Yeah.
If in the very least, to simply just put them outside of the room.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is like, Theon wouldn't have openly displayed his weapons, like, on his hip or anything. He would have tried to,
Mhm.
like, have them under his cloak or something like that.
And you would have done that before you left the room?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Are they magical?
No, it's just the short swords that I got from
Yeah.
Morgan and gang.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to, I'm trying to think. Roll maybe a stealth of a kind to try and hide 2 short swords.
Can I give advantage or
I'm
anything
I'm burning
tracking them by offering up my weapon?
I'm burning my inspiration for this because Fion would want to have something on him.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's trying to offer advantage.
Just use the old prison pocket. Don't worry about it.
Well, what could you offer that would realistically give him advantage to hide 2 short swords?
Fuck
A
yes.
pair of eyes.
So I rolled a 16 and a 20. Depending on what the roll is, it would be if it's like straight up a stealth or a sleight of hand. Actually, those are the same plus.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a 22 nat 20 roll.
All right. Is there any amount of intimidation or persuasion you would have made if they attempted to pat you down, which would have almost certainly revealed short swords?
I mean, yeah, I probably would have attempted a like, hey, come on, man. I agreed to go peacefully. I'm not holding out
All right.
on you.
Let's just assume you have your equipment. It's a lot easier that way. Doesn't matter anyway, because you're under,
Well,
threat
yeah,
of death.
I know this is very the semantics, but like Fion would have tried to keep something on him just in case shit really hit the fan, and
And you wanted to fight an ancient blue dragon?
They offer a sense of security, okay?
Okay,
I
fine.
mean,
You have your equipment.
it's just a paranoid Fion thing to do. So
Okay. Yeah, like I said, you can have them. They're 100% certain they'll be able to kill you. But yeah, you can have your equipment. That's fine. Um, but do you all want to prepare anything or talk about anything before they come and pick you up, presumably, to go confess to the king? You can start to hear some noise outside. You suspect that the
Probably
crowd
everybody.
of people are drawing, eager for a trial.
So we're just gonna come out with everything then?
I mean,
What other
yeah,
choice do we got?
we don't really have much other choice at this point, as Orna said.
Alright.
We could try and spin this tale as wildly as we want. Fact of the matter remains. I don't. Which is why I wanted to speak to Bahamut beforehand.
At least we didn't drag Lee and Aldrin into this.
I was hoping not to drag you as well. But
Well, I was kind of the one that fessed up to Bahamut.
this is going to be interesting. Pray that somehow we, by the grace of gods, live.
Do you want to pray?
To Asmodeus, I'm sure.
Well,
Yeah.
you can pray to anyone. I'm not gonna judge.
God
know. Or do you want to pray to Asmodeus?
Sure, I don't know what to say, but Ormus would.
Okay. Well, make a sort of persuasion check.
Oh, I'm good with persuasion.
I would
Not as good
also
as deception, but
I would
more or
sorry.
less.
I would also have been praying. Would take the opportunity to pray to Gilligan since it seems death is the,
26 for me.
It's pretty good. Make a persuasion check, Fion.
Kept rolling.
Flat 18.
Oh, that's the emergency stop. I shouldn't hit that.
That's still pretty good. Yeah, don't hit the emergency stop. That's almost never good.
I leaned back and I felt something in my back. I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? Oh, okay. Don't lean back.
Mm-hmm. So, Mollymort, while they pray quietly in their strange ways, would you like to do anything?
I guess seeing them do it, I'll sit and pray as well.
Okay. Do you want to pray to anyone in particular?
I'm gonna pray to Sheila.
All right. I go ahead and make a persuasion check, essentially, just to pray. Are you all praying for anything in particular, or are you just praying like, get the baseball mitt out, get ready to catch a hot one. I'm gonna be coming
Yeah,
up quick.
pretty much.
Yeah, about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, well, if there's, well, I mean, maybe if there's
Yeah,
anything to
just
do.
I imagine Orvis is something along the lines of, so you know how you want me to be involved in the sort of battle royale that is your fun afterlife. Gonna be there in like maybe 20. P.S. I'm gonna need a new sword.
Oh no!
Anyway,
just I butter him up a little bit. Well, looks like I miss you a little bit more than I thought. I'll be coming down here soon.
and Molly Moore, what are you saying to Sheila?
Basically, well, I know this doesn't really have anything to do with nature magic, and it's very much about civilization, and that's really not your forte, but a little help might be nice if you could do anything at all.
All right.
Well, I'll give a little pray to Arata too, just in case he can hear me.
Just in case.
Yeah,
Roll a
he
deception
does throw me a
on that
fake-
one.
fuck it. That's
What did you
beautiful.
roll? What did you roll, Molly Moore?
What was the roll again?
Persuasion generally, or basically something like charisma based kind of thing. But
Oh,
I'm willing to accept others.
it's a 7.
Okay.
I'd like to know how I got lucky with persuasion and very unlucky with deception.
Well, what'd you roll
Unnatural 20.
for the deception?
Yeah. I got
What's
a
your
7
passive
plus-
insight?
My passive insight? 12.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
It's poop.
you're able to lie to yourself convincingly that that prayer will do anything. So there you go. Every little bit helps.
You're like, hey, Rada, remember that paper you owed me? Still waiting.
Okay.
You didn't show up last time.
So, well, keep in mind,
It was for shits and giggles, I know.
he's just he's not even there.
He's just a
not,
guy.
He's just a guy. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just a guy that really wants you to like him. Has no power here whatsoever. Anyway,
We praise the
Maybe
film.
send us back in time a little bit to be like, hey, do not go on that roof.
Theon, you feel kind of a weird tingle in your fingers. It's almost like, you know how sometimes you sleep in your arm wrong, or you let it sit on the edge of a table too long and it kind of goes a little numb. I guess we lost him. Anyway, whenever he comes back, his arm's numb. So,
My arm is numb.
well, that's what I was saying. Is you know that kind of tingly feeling that you can sometimes get if you sleep on it wrong, or you have it sitting on a table edge and it just blocks off the flow, and you just get this sort of tingly feel in your hands.
Yeah.
And it almost like when you squeeze them, it almost feels like they're tight, like they're full,
Yeah.
like you're less articulate in a sense of them. Like there's something just out, like they're just outside of your control in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long does your detect magic work?
10 minutes.
Okay. I'm assuming you prayed right after he left.
Yeah, I would say it would probably be within the 10 minutes of, yeah.
Your hands are magical now.
Oh, awesome.
Huh.
This
You
is
have no
Nice.
idea what this is, but they have a kind of greenish aura to them.
Detect magic should give him the school too, shouldn't it?
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah, if any, so it is possible that it doesn't quite fit within one school, so
This doesn't seem to fit within a particular school.
Nice.
Not necessarily. You're not 100% sure what this is, but it's like this little twinkly kind of greenish energy that's just over your hands. And if do you wear like long sleeves?
Yeah.
As you pull your sleeves, if you pull them back, you can see that it kind of goes down your arm. If you quickly move your hand back and forth, your hand moves just behind the green energy, as the green energy is just in front of it. Like
Well,
the green
that's not
energy
going
is
to be good for an ancient dragon
Like-
to see.
like the green energy is moving where your hand is going to move before you even move it.
Huh.
Yeah. They're not
Like
going to be happy with seeing that.
like maybe if you wanted to attack something, you could attack it before you even knew that you were going to attack it, giving you so much of an advantage above their reflexes because you're doing it before you do it.
Interesting. I am into this. Hopefully it comes in
Yeah,
handy.
you think that this could be advantageous. Never seen this before, but it's here. So, anyway. And you have no idea really what it could be or from or do. But it seems like it's, like I said, you move your hand from place to place and the green spectral hand moves before you move. It's strange. Anyway, about 20 minutes later, I don't know if anyone curious about anything else. Unfortunately, as cool as the other things can be, and as wonderful as those prayers were, nothing else seems to have occurred with the others. But after a bit, the crowd picks up a little bit. You swear you hear someone selling some sort of cake. Like you can hear them yelling out.
Sounds-
Can I go get some?
I'm going to look
If
out.
you-
Is there a punchline?
If you knock on the door trying to ask, "Can I go get some cake?" Unfortunately, no. You're on orders not to leave yet.
Darn.
Well, I mean, technically, we could go get some. Just getting back is another issue.
You could if you want. But yeah. Anyway, but after, as I said, about 20 minutes or so, the door opens, and on the other side is Lieutenant Rockford again. And he's got a smile, the cigar held low in his hand, and he says, "Good news. The king will see you, and I was going to say Mika again. Bahamut will be there."
I mean, you can
All right.
call her Mika. I think she actually prefers that even.
He says, "Well, you can have that discussion with her, but I understand you wanted to keep it quiet, but they insisted that we have the talk in front of the crowd."
Okay, but since you're here,
Does they do? Does
Well, hang
Bahamut?
on, don't interrupt.
is there any chance you could get me some of that cake I hear they're selling out there?
He nods and says, "That can be arranged." You were saying, Ormus?
I was gonna ask. Did you tell Bahamut everything to the king, or just that
No.
they wanted? Okay.
No, this is your story to tell, unless I'm called as evidence to give you
Okay.
the testimony of what you said. Till then,
Okay.
like I said, you can trust me. I won't tell a soul unless I have
I'm gonna
to.
insight that.
Sure.
Yeah, honestly, same.
You probably
Yeah,
got a
sure.
higher insight, but I'll say I got a 7.
For me,
I believe
that's where's my insight plus? 27.
Okay.
Fuck.
With a 27, he seems genuine. I mean, that or he's like a really, really, really good liar. He seems. I mean, he seems like a nice guy in a way. Seems genuine. He doesn't seem to mean you any malice. He seems like he's just doing his job. But he also seems like if it's his job to kill you, he will.
I can respect that.
Yeah. We do the same.
And Ormus, you don't trust this guy at all. Not even a little bit. But anyway. But he says, "All right, this way, Sergeant. Open the door." And he calls out and just starts walking out, presuming that, rather, inviting you to follow him.
I hop up on Fion.
You make the effort to go through the human-sized doorways with the added totem of Molly Mort. And you're soon enough able to come out. As you walk through the station, you can hear more and more talk. And as the doors to the guard hut, the sort of large, sprawling connection of unplanned buildings opens, the crowd erupts even louder. Not so much in a cheer or even a boo, just more of an excitement that something is happening. And you think after yesterday's show, they're probably hoping it's something good. But they lead you out, and you can see Peter stops and talks to, whispers to one of the guards and points over to the cake vendor and holds up a hand with a couple of digits. And then he points at the group, and then he points at himself, and then he nods and pats the sergeant or passes the guy on the back, and he runs off, presumably to acquire a snack. But
I recognize the soldier dude.
you do not that fellow. No,
Darn.
Do you ever get a chance to heal his eye?
you did not get a chance yet. No.
You should sneak up and do it.
It takes a minute, and also
Aggressive surprise healing.
just throw the diamond glitter in his face and do healing.
Oh god, diamond glitter as
Pocket sand.
as a
Awful.
healing specifically for the eye. It's like, oh god, why does it hurt so much? It's healing magic. It hurts.
Why does it hurt so good?
I don't think that would be good. But anyway, you're taken through the crowd a bit. You can see that it's set up basically exactly like yesterday, except the attendance is way higher. You probably got most, if not the entire city here. You can barely see. It looks to be that the entire area is filled, and they even opened up another area in the back. They're coming through some back door in the other side of the city. Massively filled up area. The whole courtyard just full of humans, just smelly, terrible, loud humans. And the stage area has been closed in on the group where there's much less room there. And the king is not seated. In fact, you can't even see him. I should say that there is a seat for the king, clearly like a throne type thing, and a smaller seat, and a couple of other individuals standing around. You recognize some of them as the kind of retainers of the king. You do see Panny, if that's of any curiosity. You see the guard
I'm gonna
captain,
wave
a
to
couple
him.
of others.
With a smile.
That's perfectly fine. And there is a gallows set up. This time, there is the same gallows as before. One that's slightly taller for Fion, one slightly smaller for Ormus, and then
I'm gonna-
another with a barrel and a box, and then a standard height noose, presumably for Mollymort.
Oh,
I'm gonna lean over and kind of whisper to Theon, be like, stay 5 feet within me. If this goes south, I'm bringing us to the king.
But you are escorted up onto the gallows, and you are asked to stand there by the guards. None that you really recognize, just, well, not the one that Mollymort that you would recognize, but just guards. You know.
And I am looking for that one guy.
Make a perception check.
It's 16.
Okay. You are able to see him. He seems to be on one of the gates, on the inside of one of the wall gates. So where he would normally be on the outside of the gate, now he's on the inside, presumably just watching the crowd. And of course, watching everyone else, but he seems to be mostly just scanning the crowd. But he is there.
All right.
All right. But after not too long, you can see Throughbane come out. He's in his typical polished, sort of leather-ish armor, and he comes up to you all, where I should add that basically you're standing in front of the gallows, up on top of the platform, not in the nooses, but right where the nooses are. And he comes over. The guards are still standing there. You're still fully armed with equipment, and he says, "You know, I know it looks scary, but they really are fair people. Tell them the truth. Be open with them, and they will decide what happens." And he's motioning to the crowd, and he says, "I'm still bound. If you attempt to escape, just don't escape, okay?"
Alright, but I'm gonna say right here and right now that noose isn't going on my neck until this trial is over and I'm deemed guilty. Not saying that I am, but if the guilty verdict is wrong.
He says, "Well, that's the difficulty with justice sometimes, is they get to decide." And again, motions to the crowd. And you can see a couple in the crowd are just like, they're, you think some were immediately starting to cheer, "Hang them, hang them," for no other reason than just because you're outsiders. And then others are just clapping and cheering along for anything.
I'll look at him and be like, "You have my word. There will be no attempt of escape."
My word as well.
You were saying, Molly Mort?
I said, but what about your eye?
Oh, well, this isn't, this was Throughbane.
Oh, got it. Okay, I thought it was Peter.
No, Peter hasn't come back yet. But Throughbane was just basically saying, like, "Look, I was ordered by Bahamut to kill you if you attempt to escape. Please don't escape. I don't want to do that. don't try that, because I will do it." But anyway,
I'm gonna look at him too and be like, "You do know what's? Did anybody tell you anything, Bahamut?"
he says, "I was there, sort of. I got most of the story from the lovely gnome here, but
Okay. We did tell Peter everything. Just
I have plenty
let
of
you know
names.
that.
You don't have to call me Gnome. I have plenty of names to pick from.
he nods. But he says that the story is not mine to know or care. I'm just here for the city and for Bahamut, and
That's what we're here for too. But I just wish that they all knew."
he says, "Well, tell them, and they'll know."
As if they believe us.
Hmm?
But I said if that's if they believe us. But for what it's worth, happy to get to know you guys. And I'm gonna put my hand in for a handshake.
With him or with everyone else?
With him, I'm gonna tell him like, for what it's worth, I'm glad that I got to know you. Everybody here is worth it.
He'll give you a handshake too, and you can feel when he shakes your hand, there's just a little shock of static electricity,
Oof, you know how to tickle.
and he gives you a real tight squeeze. Almost like
Not as-
unpleasantly so.
It's like almost as strong as Asmodeus, but great
You
grip.
think maybe he's just holding a little bit of a grudge from you killing his son?
Yeah, I'm
He doesn't
glad
know that.
he decided to take off his armor.
We never told him that.
You gave him his son's claws, and she was wearing a suit of clothing made from his son's skin. Do you really think he didn't put those together?
Eh, Hopefully.
Anyway, he gives you
Well,
an
if-
uncomfortable handshake.
And with that, I'll be like, and I am sorry for any misunderstandings that came to pass.
He nods. And
Hinting towards what happened.
he nods and turns to walk off, presumably to wait with his with the rest of the court of the city.
I lean over to whisper to Ormus, well, I mean, we did actually kill Jacob, and we're getting along with him okay, so maybe we won't do so bad with him.
Yes, but killing Jacob was a complete, I don't want to say accident, but misunderstanding. We didn't know what he was there for.
Don't say
He
accident. It wasn't an accident. But go
Yeah,
on.
it was completely intentional. It was to defend the city
Well-
for what we thought was an evil dragon. So there.
That applies to both situations. We thought it was an evil dragon trying to steal the heart away.
This wasn't an accident.
Yeah, but we thought we were defending the heart, which is what he was also trying to protect.
Well, remember
Oh, no,
when
I'm
you
talking
killed
about
him,
trying
when you killed Thrubane's son, whose name started with an I, and I totally remember because dragon names are really easy to remember. It was Istio. When you killed
Oh, that's what I
Istio,
thought Molly was talking
Yeah.
about.
well, when you killed Istio, in terms of it being an accident or it not being one, remember he did try to steal the heart. He had already killed scores of guards. He had destroyed multiple towers of the castle. He had killed Alondria. Like he wasn't being entirely
Nice about
defenseless in that sort of a way. Like he there were some problems. He definitely it isn't on you per se. Like you were justified in what you did.
We were the ones on the defense there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at what we did. Now we're on the offense and offense, and now look.
I'm just saying,
No,
despite
I
what
know.
happened with Jacob, we're getting along with him. Maybe this relationship can be repaired.
Maybe, but regardless, the
Peter
king's still not good for
Peters comes bounding up the steps, and you can see he's got like a deck of cards being on display. He's got several cakes wrapped in a thin paper, and he hands one to each of you. And they seem to be imagine like a small funnel cake, but with like brown sugar on top, and it's about the size of like a donut.
It's like, oh wow, thank you very much. I
They're
wasn't expecting
crispy and fried. And
You're an angel, thank you.
he hands one to each of you, and then takes a bite of his own and looks out at the crowd and smiles, and he says, this job isn't all bad. Sometimes it is kind of fun.
I'll take a bite and be like, I'd say this is the best damn funnel cake I've ever had.
I'll definitely take note of this and try and recreate the recipe. Fion stutters a little bit when he thinks about the fact that he just said, a thing about the future.
Mm-hmm. You can feel that it's a kind of a coarse batter. It's not very fluffy or aerated. It's a dense cake. Like this is something that you think is perfect for a street vendor because you can't eat this without needing something to drink.
Yeah.
Like you take a couple of bites and you're committing to several hard seconds of chewing. It's good. It's definitely good, but it is solid.
When I
Yeah.
do say that though, that it's the best stamped funnel cake, I'm gonna like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty much shout and try to get the crowd going a little bit, especially the vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of get them on our side a little bit.
Yeah. The vendor yells back, "Even the damned love it," and he just continues to sell it. But soon enough, there are akin to like horns and trumpets blaring, going.
And here
And he
we
says, "Oh, show's on," and he moves off a bit, leaving you all essentially alone, flanked by guards of the city, unknown individuals, no name tags, completely not with importance whatsoever. And coming out is
How
the
far
last of
away?
the members of the court, and then the queen going to the throne, and the announcer calls out. And you notice that they've added another honorary, Mollymort, since since Thrubain introduced him. They added Protector of Humanity onto the list of the titles for the king. You think that he had a little bit of title envy when being introduced to Bahamut, and he didn't like that Bahamut was introduced as Protector of Humanity. But
I
anyway,
will definitely point that out to the guys that, oh, yeah, Bahamut was given that title when he was introduced to the king. I guess the king liked
Or just wanted to steal it.
I mean, if he wanted to steal it, then obviously he liked it.
How far away are the nooses? By the way,
how far
Like me
away
and-
are they?
Yeah, like in between. Like how close are me and Theon?
Close enough that you could be holding hands while dying.
Okay. And how far away is the king's chair?
Oh, it's a bit of a ways. So the gallows themselves. So imagine a kind of a large rectangular plot of land, several hundred yards wide and several hundred yards deep. And then imagine a gate kind of in the middle of the longest sides. And from that, if you were to enter the gate and look at about 10:30 or so from that perspective, is a big round tower of a building. And that is the Shara. That is the Ashara. That's the Heart of Stone. That's the primary palace. And then if you were to look on the sort of opposite side and in the far corner is another equally large and grand tower, but is almost entirely unused. And then between you and that tower, slightly off from the wall, is an oddly shaped. See, this is. I apologize, but anyway,
Fine. just
You're doing
let-
great.
I completely forgot about it until this moment. I'm sorry.
It's
Try
good.
to
We don't-
remind me, so because I get really busy during the week, and then anyway. But there's this sprawling collection of buildings that are fairly small in some and then large in others, different materials, and that's the sort of guard-esque building it's probably started as a shed and then just got expanded and expanded and expanded. And then everything else is almost entirely open with crowds, massive, several acres, huge amount of people. And then to the far left of the entrance, not quite along the wall, but sort of in the close corner to the left, are the gallows, and they are arrayed so that they're facing the crowd, and they leave as much space as possible. And then separate from that, there is another raised dais, and on that contains the court and the thrones and now the king. And that was much closer to the gallows before, but the gallows had been moved back, and this has been moved closer to the castle. And you think that that was to allow more crowd, or because you're dangerous? One or the other. But overall, you're probably maybe 20, 30 yards from the king.
Figure out. I'm just trying to figure out if I can dimension door.
Figured.
You can go 500 feet with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, from the walls, you can get to. You can't get everywhere with it, but you could get to the center. Like you can
Yeah.
from
Like
if you were to
30
go
yards
around the
is only 90.
walls. Yeah, technically,
So I
if you
definitely
could
got
go around the walls, and you can come in from any wall, you could get to anywhere in this court,
Okay,
in this
good.
whole yard. But from where you are, you could definitely get to the Ashara, the tassel. You could definitely get to the king. You could even get to the guards. You could not get to the other tower. Well, not okay. You could get to some of it, but you couldn't get to all of it.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet. I'll just give Theon that look. Like, shit goes wrong. Get ready.
And as I said, it is left to right on these gallows, with the stairs coming up from the right. It is Theon, Ormus, and Mollymort. So you are canonically in the middle of them, and you're only a couple feet away from each other.
Oh, jeez.
And there are guards that are standing back beside the supports for the gallows that are just there. Mostly, you think they're mostly decorative, but whatever. Any further questions?
Nope. Just looking for one last ditch effort in case it goes wrong.
Okay. So you imagine that there's some formality to something like this, and it seems to be very similar in that the king sits and he asks the captain, what case has been brought before me. The captain explains. He gives your names as close as he really can pronounce them. As simply as essentially this is Theon, Ormus, Mollymort. They have conspired against the kingdom and against the king, and they have murdered 2 guards. And they do name the guards, if anyone is curious. But
I'm curious.
okay, the first guard, Lee. Do you remember the name of the what's all this then guard? I can't remember.
I remember coming up with a name for him, but it was different.
I think it was. Oh man, does anyone else remember it? It just slipped my
can't.
mind. It
I
wasn't Derek, was it?
No, it was.
No. I'm sorry. I'm so ill prepared.
It's like
But
Jim or
anyway.
something.
One of them was named Charles Kane. I knew that. And we will. What was the name you came up with, Lee? I'll let you have that. Who was the? What's all this then, fellow?
I think they just called him Jim.
Jim. That's right. Fine. We'll call him James. Jim. What was his last name?
No idea.
don't think we picked one.
Nodia.
Perfect.
Yeah. So James Nodia and Charles Kane, slain in cold blood by Ormus the elf. And the king says, in accordance with our tradition, we will allow them to defend themselves in front of the people, and the people will decide the price. And there's loud cheering. Yay, boo, kill him, whatever, he's hot. Anyway, it's a large group of people. There's going to be somebody. But
I'm just gonna nudge Theon like, hey, someone thinks you're hot.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we know if they were indicating Theon or Ormus?
I'm just assuming they meant Theon.
Probably the guy with the ridiculous charisma, I would assume.
oh yeah,
Elf dude. Probably. I don't know if humans would necessarily normally find Fearbolgs to be attractive as traditional.
yeah. But traditionally speaking, Ormus is like 10 out of 10 for most humans.
Yeah, of course. what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so as is presumably their tradition, the charges have been presented, and the king asks if anyone is able to present witness or evidence against them. To which Lieutenant stands up, old Peter, and he explains what he saw that night. He explains talking to Ormus. He explains Ormus escaping. He explains capturing Ormus again. He explains the killing. He explains his discussions, or he explains capturing you all again, and he explains your confession. Well, capturing. He explains he being there when you surrendered, and he explains what you confessed. And basically, the king thanks him. The crowd is listening. You're surprised at how quiet they get. But afterwards, the king says, if there is anyone else to present evidence against the accused, and there's silence. And the accused, do you have anything to say in your defense?
Oh,
Can I step forward?
Yeah, you're accused. What would you like to do and say?
Wow, that was terrible timing. My fucking mobile went out.
Ah, okay.
Ormus teleports,
On the
disappears
table.
from the stage.
Like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Boop.
Nothing left over but a pile of ash.
I am going to try to use a little flattery by doing my best to repeat the titles that the king kind of gave himself when speaking to him.
Oh, can I
And
clarify something first?
Yes.
To clarify, when Lieutenant Rockford explained the confession that you gave, he did leave out everything having to do with Bahamut and everything having to do with the Queen. He specifically just said the bits about you going on the roof to get information about, like, he just basically gave the specific sentences where you said that you were conspiring to kill the king. He didn't give the detail about whom you were conspiring with. If you want to factor that into your defense.
Okay, that's definitely worth knowing. I would have looked to Fion and Ormus to see if either of them are going to step it before I do.
Theon is pretty bad with words. He definitely wouldn't step up first.
And I'm personally bad with words, but I don't know. Like, I can't think of any way to word this. I know Ormus would, but not.
Well, Molly if you want to say something, you can, and then afterwards, we can see what Ormus would have to say. But go on, Molly.
All right, then. I guess I'm going to give a little apologetic look to Fion, then Ormus. Then I'm going to look up at the Queen. Is the Queen?
The Queen is seated directly beside the king.
And do I see Mika around at all?
She is amongst the court with Thrubain.
Okay, then. Okay, that's information I need to know. I will look directly at the Queen and then address the King. We were conspiring to dethrone you, and we were doing so under the orders of the Queen.
She immediately tries to bolt up, and you can see that it seems as if they had maybe 1 or 2 extra guards standing nearby, just in case she did that. And as soon as she tries to get up, Two guards pounce up and put hands on her shoulders and restrain her to her throne. And there's gasps and what and lies from the crowd. Go on.
Oh,
We were intending to do so under the conditions that I could revive him, because we were intending to dethrone him through death and reincarnation, so as he would not be the same person to take the throne. This was a condition put in by us, not the Queen, unfortunately. And we might have even gone through with it if I had not approached Mika, and I look over to her, and confessed all this to her, because we had done this under the Queen's orders with the condition that we did not tell Mika, and Mika is the one who had us come forward and speak some truth, because she is wholeheartedly on the king's side in all of this.
The king, from his throne, says out, "That is quite a remarkable defense. I appreciate your honesty. Finally. Is there anyone else who would speak in their defense?"
I'll kind of raise my hand a little bit.
Do you actually
instead
want to
of-
say something, or do you want Ormus to say something?
Well, both.
Okay.
But
Well,
in
no,
a
I'm just
very-
saying, like, if you don't have something,
You could
you can.
phrase.
Well, you can paraphrase if you want, or you can. I mean, if you want, you can just roll and see how it goes.
I'll say what I
And-
can and then roll if you'll allow me, just to be persuasive.
Okay, but if you say something wrong, it's going to affect how effective the roll might be.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's absolutely fine.
Okay.
At least there's a chance for the dice.
Okay.
I'll address the king, and then I'll address the people. People of hope. There is danger out there. Danger that some would seem the king may not be fit to defend against. We were simply looking out for the better of the world, for the better of hope, for the better of everything in doing so. We did not mean permanent death. Of course not. Thanks to my friend Molly. But we did seem and look and hope to better suit ourselves against this evil that is coming forth. We were hoping to better ascertain a way of combating and protecting you all, the world, everything around. We did not mean ill intent. We simply meant to, well, protect. And that is all.
All right. Make a persuasion roll with advantage.
That's a 19 plus 9 and a 16. So 28.
Okay. As you say those words, as convincing as they could be, Molly Mort, Fionn, make wisdom saving throws, please.
Okay.
I'm curious as to what happens if it fails. Oh shit.
This is a magical thing, right?
It is magical. It would be considered a charm.
Yes.
Is Asmodeus casting
those.
charm through me?
What'd you roll, Molly Mort?
I have not rolled yet. I'm checking what I get.
Okay. How about you, Theon?
28.
Okay. I'm curious what Molly Moore got.
26.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
With those exceptionally high rolls, and you also suspect that the crowd did not nearly do that well. You suspect most of the court did not nearly do that well. You suspect it's entirely possible that virtually no one in this crowd did as well as you all did. But you, having succeeded on it, can feel something tugging as the words come out. Something like honey in your mind. Something that makes thoughts stick, makes those thoughts stick, and makes them delicious. Makes them just something desirable about them, as some sort of corrupting charm is
Yep.
emanated from Ormus, as if some otherworldly force is oozing out of his pores to aid in his persuasion or deception checks. Anyway, but the crowd is hung on every word. And afterward, there's clapping and cheers. Like it starts slow, and then it gets bigger, and then there start to be tears, and people are
shit.
just, yes, yes, bless him.
Oh my god.
You know,
Give Ormus a look like, how dare you? We were supposed to do this right.
Theon just
What, you gonna look at
glances.
me like that?
Yeah, you're magically influencing them. I thought
You
we
have-
were gonna do this right.
Ormus, you
If I notice
have
that, I'm
no
gonna-
idea it happened.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna look at her like, what?
Yeah, Theon just glances down at his own hands and kind of figures what's going on.
But anyway,
I'm gonna have a completely confused look, Molly, like, I don't know what's going on, like, what? No wonder why we had extra fucking tools. Lazy shit. Sorry,
that's
my
fine.
fucking coworker. I do all the fucking.
Anyway, but as you say that, the king stands and puts a hand up to quiet his people and steps up further and says, I think that there's nothing else to be said in their defense. That was quite extraordinary. And I suspect the people know how they feel. And there's more cheers as he gives them a smile and a grin. And he says, those who vote to condemn, and there's silence. Those to give freedom, and cheers.
Oh shit. Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yes, and there's just loud, yeah. You imagine that Uchiguro is probably like, the hell is that noise? Like this is loud. But anyway, the king says, "You all are hereby pardoned."
My jaw's just gonna drop.
And then he
What?
turns to the queen and motions for her, as if inviting her to come in the door. He motions her to be taken to the gavels, or to the, not the gavels, but the, isn't it gavels? No,
Gallows.
Yeah.
gallows. Excuse me, my brain just cut off for a moment there.
No, that's fine.
Towards the gallows, and the guards lift her from her seat. She's struggling. Get off of me! Get off! Let go! Get off! And she's just being dragged away as you all are presumably free to go. The two guards that were flanking it move forward and adjust the middle noose down to about the height of the queen, and remove the barrel and box out of the way from Molly Mort and take the other two nooses down.
I mean, like, out of character, I kind of wish I could do something for her, because, like, she meant well, but,
We can defend her.
yeah.
As she's being dragged over, you see a very bright-haired older woman. You know, silver foxes,
Yeah.
essentially like the term.
Yeah.
Yeah, her hair is so silver it's almost platinum. As the slightly exaggerated features of Mika come forward, and she says to the king, "You can't do this. This is not justice. There's no point in this. No harm was done. We can end this here." And she says it, barely under. Well, you all are pretty far away. I don't think you would have heard it over the crowd, but you can see Mika come forward and speak to the king. And you can see the king's response is none too happy, and is plain on his face. And you can hear quite a few in the crowd trying to quiet down and shush everyone else because they want to hear the intrigue, while many of the others are screaming "Hang her!" Towards the king or towards the queen. Would you all like to change your positions from the gallows or do anything?
I would assume we wouldn't want to be up here anymore, but if we're gonna defend her, I'll follow your guys' lead.
Yeah, I think Fiona's gonna try and move to step down because, like, either way, if we do try to defend her, we need to be off of these gallows just so. In Fiona's head, just so nothing gives
Just for
anyone
comfort.
any inclination to put the noose around our neck as well.
Yeah.
There's a thin, roped off kind of pathway between the gallows and the royal dais. If you want to go to there, or you can just be in front of the gallows, or where do you want to go? Or to the dais, whichever you prefer. Or into the crowd. You can just crowd surf this sucker. Although it might be a little bit more difficult for Fion. Well, actually, that's not really his problem. It's more their problem.
Peace out, bitches.
I'll actually go down and I'll start hugging as many people as I can, and say
Right.
thank you.
Ormus goes rockstar. They're demanding that you sign body parts. Just so you know.
Yeah, I think Fiona will follow in the wake behind him, not doing the whole rock star thing, but just kind of walking behind him in the path that he clears.
Just kind of going into the crowd. But in terms of your direction, are you just walking? Are you just kind of along the pathway, or are you going into the crowd in a particular direction?
Fiona would attempt along the pathway, whether Ormus is or not.
Yeah.
That's fair. And
Yeah,
you, Mollymore?
I don't care to be surrounded.
Yeah, pathway. Got it. And you, Mollymore?
I'm going to watch them go, but I'm gonna stay on the gallows. And is there a path up to where the king and queen?
Yes. Yeah, the royal dais is. There's a pathway between the gallows and the royal dais that's roped off. And that's the rope line that Ormus and Fiona are along. And that's the same line that the queen is being dragged across currently. She's being dragged in the path towards the gallows currently.
I am going to try to step in front of them. Like I'm trying to stop them.
No, they're not there yet. There's a bit of a distance. Like I said, you guys are like 100 feet away.
Or, yeah, I'm going to try to go and try to, like, get in front of them.
Getting in front of the queen and the guards.
Yeah, like I'm going to try to stop them from dragging her to the gallows.
How do you want to stop them?
I'm just gonna go and firmly plant my feet and put a hand out and go, stop!
Okay. As Mika discusses something with the queen, the crowd starts to quiet down quickly, realizing that there's an encore and also some sort of a different encore. They got very excited, like the trial's done. That was a pretty good trial. Wait, there's another trial? That's fantastic.
Oh
Wait,
shit!
there's more drama? Oh man, they are going all up. But they are trying to stay quiet because it's very, very loud when there's a lot of people. You imagine the people in the back are not getting most of this, but they're just happy to be here. But you can just hear as Mika says, justice should be fair, and this is not justice. And then the king yelling back, "She wants to kill me. How is that fair?" And Mika saying calmly, "But she didn't." But that doesn't seem to be a very good point. But from the perspective of an immortal being, it's tough to tell. But anyway, but as they are yelling, Mollymort, the guards do get to you, and you all can see Mollymort is, set down, heels in, hand up, saying "stop" to them.
I'll get behind her.
The Paragon of Justice.
Yeah, if Molly's doing that, I'll hop up on the path that she's following. I can't words right now.
You were kind of on the rope line of the same path. You can just step in behind her.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I feel like kind of doing that protective brother thing behind her. Like,
Yeah, even to the point that I think that Fionn would probably scoop up Molly and set her on the shoulder perch.
Do the guards stop?
They do stop, and you can see the queen is trying to keep composed, but is just furious in her eyes. But one of the guards says, motioning with his head, "Come on, don't get in this. Take your pardon and go."
please don't.
I am going
Shift this as we are.
on my Furbolg perch. I am going to cup my hands around my mouth and use minor illusion as a magical microphone. And I'm going to say the queen should not be killed because of this misdeed.
And you're yelling it into the crowd, essentially?
I'm basically trying to give a little bit of a surround sound so everyone can hear.
And the guard will turn back and look, and the king will yell out, "She'll have a trial same as you. You can speak in her defense. But if you keep interfering, I'll take that pardon away." And almost immediately the crowd goes, "Boo!" at the king.
I'm just gonna give him a smug sparkle.
All right, but I feel like we should at least give her the knight the same, the same grace that we were afforded, and maybe talk about this before we put her to be hanged.
And the king says, "She'll get her own fair trial. She can say whatever she wants, here and now."
But everyone's blood is boiling. I don't think it's a good idea. This is just my input. Do a trial right now. Everyone's out for blood.
You can see his face getting more and more angry as you speak.
I mean, I'm gonna look down I'm gonna whisper to Fiona actually that drop the minor illusion so nobody hears, and I'm gonna whisper to Fiona that Ormus seems to have some sway with the people right now, so I think now might be a good time.
I agree.
Yeah, like seeing basically his face redden and him getting more frustrated. I got to lean over to stop what I was saying, lean over to Oramus and be like, "Hey, use some of that. Get the people off of his side. Maybe he won't,
I'll do my best. I don't know how I did it before, but try my hardest.
All right, I'm gonna gesture that we should let them through.
Yeah, I'll step to the side.
And the king shouts, "Good!" That's all he's got. But he returns to his throne as the queen is taken up towards the gallows again. And unlike with you all, they do fit the noose to her as she waits, the guards continuing to hold her. But the crowd gets quiet again. But Mika approaches the throne again and is speaking to him too quiet for you all to hear. And you can see them bickering in a way back and forth. Do you want to still stay far away, or do you want to go towards the gallows, or stay in the path, or towards the dais, or
I'll
what?
stay by the gallows, kind of like I am her lawyer type thing.
Yeah, I'm on Theon right now, but I kind of would like to do.
Yeah, Theon would follow Aramis's suit.
All right. You all go towards the gallows as the king and Mika continue to argue back and forth. And they seem to be having a quite strong discussion, to the point that the king has signaled for his guards to take hold of Mika. And the crowd is starting to murmur amongst themselves, wondering what is being said in this close proximity. You can't hear much more than the occasional kind of shouted whisper. They seem to be rather explicitly keeping it quiet. But even as the guards grasp Mika, she's not giving up. She's not moving. She continues to stand, and the guards are trying to pull her, and they're not able to pull her away. You were saying, Ormus?
I was gonna say the whole time this is going on, I'm like, trying to keep the attention of the crowd. I'm gonna like wave, blow kisses, smile, and
Oh, they're not looking at
do
you at
small
all.
bows. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I was not trying to.
they are fixed on this situation of the king and Mika.
Okay, fair enough.
And the king
I'll do that when they all look at me again, or towards the queen.
the king seems to be pointing and insisting on something with Mika, and Mika is continuing to stand her ground. And there's murmurs throughout the crowd, and apparently, from what you can hear of the whispers being spread from the crowd, from the people that were close enough to hear it, there's something about kill you where you stand. And, the crowd seems to be a bit confused and going back and forth, and they're murmuring more amongst each other as they're watching something strange, but nothing more than whispers and words coming from this group.
Mika said, "Kill you where you stand."
I don't know. You guys are too far away to hear it. Who knows?
Oh, okay. I was just like, God damn, who said that?
You don't know. But the discussion seems to culminate to a point where Thrubain moves forward and is standing between the two. And even more people are curious. Like, what's the Dragon Lord doing up there? Like, who is this woman? But they seem very much more confused.
I
But
whispered to Theon, Mom and Dad are fighting.
something
His
along
dad
the
is
line.
King. It's okay. Dad is an idiot.
The king stands up from his throne again and walks around Mika. And Mika, you could see, just gives nothing more than just a half turn of her head to keep a sidelong eye on the king. As the king says to the crowd, in the name of the safety of the kingdom, I have to disband this court. We must treat this respectfully as something more important than the public interest. You can hear shouts and yells from the crowd immediately as they don't want to be cut out of the gossip, and that's not the way the law works. And the king is basically seemingly done and is motioning for the guards to be pushing the crowd out. And he says, "Go to your homes. Be safe. All will be well." And the crowd doesn't seem to want to go. They're quite angry as the guards are trying to shove them out, and they're pushing back and yelling, "It's the law! You have to do it!" And the king yells back, "I'm the king! My word is law!" And the crowd erupts at that one, because, well, they don't really like that either. You all just hanging out on the gallows, just chilling?
Yeah, I'm looking at you guys like, should we do something?
I don't think there's something we can do.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know that there's anything that we can.
This is probably the second best case.
Okay, let me ask.
You can see Mika speaking to the king and turning around to speak to him more. And then the king comes forward and puts a finger in her face and is making a very growling look, speaking through clenched teeth. And then you can hear the words, "I'll show you." And then he points to the guards on the gallows and says, "Seize them! Seize the traitor!"
Being who?
And the guards move towards you all to grasp you again. Do you allow yourselves to be grabbed?
No.
I'm just gonna give oh fucking Christ look, like, here we go again, and I'll just put my hands out.
Honestly, maybe it's time to bail. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's time to bail.
There are only
Please don't let
two
that
guards there that are not holding the queen. First, the queen is on a rope, so there are two guards holding her. So technically there are 4 guards on the gallows, but 2 are moving towards you guys.
If you bail, you can't protect the queen, and there's also the danger of maybe having to fight through Maul. But it kind of seems like Bahamut and the king are at odds right now. So
Yeah.
I think you might be safe from the people who are loyal to Bahamut, and you would remain loyal to Bahamut, even going against the king here, I think. That's just my take on it.
Throughbane's already told us under order of Bahamut he would kill us if we tried to escape, so I'm kind of waiting for Bahamut to either shout go or give some sort of signal until, we're given the okay to escape. I'm just hands out. All right, let's do this again.
I'm not gonna let myself be grabbed. I'm gonna jump up like a piece of popcorn and jump out of the way of anybody trying to grab me.
Where are you just gonna run around in circles, Mollymort? What are you gonna do? Ormus seems to be being taken over to the gallows again, or rather, he's already on the gallows. But the rope that was for him is now around the queen's neck, but another is being tossed over, presumably for him.
I gotta be honest, I really like the idea of Molly being grabbed and as she's being grabbed, turning into some sort of animal and wriggling around the guard, like running up their arm or something. I don't know, I just find that idea very entertaining.
Well, I have the ring of jumping, and I figured that would make me a bit hard to catch.
Well, plus you're on top of Theon's shoulders, and there's only one guy there, and he's just trying to grab Theon. But Theon, are you grabbed? Do you allow yourself to be taken over to another noose, the same one presumably that was for you earlier, being tossed over?
No, I do not. I think I'm just gonna shove the guy off. Nothing too violent, but hand on chest, push him away.
Okay. So
I'm actually going to shout out too and be like, people, this is your king. Are you going to allow this?
I mean, they're yelling at him pretty loud. It's difficult for them to even really kind of tell. They kind of erupted when he was calling for you to be grasped again.
How much success are the guards having in sending away the people?
Virtually none. They seem to be more focused on keeping the people back currently. And you can see the king and Bahamut are still arguing. But go ahead and make an athletics check, Theon, to sort of resist his grab.
What is my plus? That's a flat roll.
Does Powerful Build give him anything to that? Or, no, that's only lifting and carrying, isn't it? Never mind.
That's a...
Would you have done guidance before? Can guidance be done as a reflex?
It is a full action, so...
Yeah, no.
That's a 15 athletics.
Okay. All right, yeah. You're able to resist him trying to grab you. You're able to easily stand your ground on it. But he seems kind of like, all right, fine, if you're not going to let me drag you. He's trying to motion, okay, come on over, put your head in the noose. I don't see what the problem is. Come on, do this. but he's trying to get you to move that way.
Has Ormus been grabbed and is being led over?
Oh yeah. Ormus is getting the noose put around his neck.
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna say before you said that, if they're trying to put the noose, I'm just gonna keep moving my head like nope, 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 nope.
Okay, make either an athletics or an acrobatics check to avoid them grappling you with a noose and restraining you in a sense.
That's a +3 with athletics. 17.
All right, you resist it easily. Not a problem.
Kind of like with a nonchalant face, like nope, can't
Yeah,
touch
like,
this.
nope, no, no ropes. And you can hear the voice of Mika cutting across the crowd again. That this is not justice, the king's justice, the people's justice. This is not true justice. And you can hear the people quiet a bit more. And the king say, "That's treason."
I'm
And Mika turns around again and says, "And that is also not justice." You were saying, Fionn?
I'm gonna move towards Ormus to try and get the guy off of him.
He's not on him. He just resisted it.
Oh, gotcha. But he's like up on the. Okay, gotcha.
He's just there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you
I'm in the
guys went.
spot, yeah,
You guys
like we
went
were
up
before.
because remember, you guys went up with the queen, and the queen's got the rope around her. You're already there. They're just trying to put the ropes on you.
Yeah.
Like I'm on my hole. I just don't want the noose around like earlier.
I'm gonna run over and cast freedom of movement on Ormus real quick.
You know, I don't know if this would work mechanically, but
Thank
in
you.
my head, it seems like this would solve everything, and it probably wouldn't, but in my head it would. Since no one else is there, and it's just Bahamut and the or Mika and the king arguing, and there's only like the couple of guards. Like it almost seems like you could just throw them down and pin them and wait for them to have the conversation, not kill them or anything, but just like if you're powerful adventurers, you might just be able to throw them on the ground and wait it out. I mean, I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean.
Like throw them on the ground.
Subdue him.
Yeah, throw their arm behind their back and pin them down face down or something like that.
But why?
Because
Yeah, that would probably just
doing
piss
the.
him off more.
Well, what I'm saying, because they're trying to like put you in the news. That's what I'm saying. Does that not make any sense to anybody else?
So not put the king in an arm lock, put the guards in a lock.
Yeah, just to give Mika time to win them over. But I also don't know if that would make them look more guilty. I don't know. Like, it makes sense to me visually in my head, but if it doesn't make sense to you guys, then I guess not.
I mean, you guys can do whatever. I never thought you'd get back on the gallows. I wrote out the whole conversation. I was expecting you guys to be close enough to hear him, so I don't know. What do you guys want to do?
I mean, that's what I was working towards. That's why I was going to pull what I thought was pull the guy off Ormus because, like, yeah, that's what I was going
y'all
for.
are just standing there doing nothing. So they're trying to put nooses on you, but you're just avoiding it. They're trying to grab you, and you're just avoiding it.
So you said the crowd has quieted down a little bit from.
They're listening in a bit more, yeah. Trying to, at least.
The people can ultimately dethrone, correct?
Theoretically.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the guy that's trying to get me, and I'm gonna try to, subdue him somehow, chicken wing him or something.
Okay. You can make an athletics check to try and grapple him. Keep in mind, there are 3 other guards on this platform.
Yeah, that's a 16 athletics.
Okay, you got a hold of him. Just barely, but yeah.
And I'm gonna shout out above, is try to be as loud as I can. Shout out over the crowd. Do you really want this king who obviously just goes off of pure emotion, doesn't care about anything but slights to himself to be ruling your country? This is the problem. This is why the walls haven't been buffed up in 10 years. This is why...
The king yells, "You see here? Traitors to the people! They're assaulting guards even now!" And the crowd seems to be split.
Well, with that, I'll
As
intervene
you-
and be like,
Everybody still there?
Yeah.
yeah, can you hear me?
That's
Well,
weird.
I
My
was-
power just went out.
Oh shit.
Weird.
But it just flickered. Okay, I didn't lose anything. Cool. All right. Anyway, but
If I could say something, intervene.
I mean, you can try, but the king and the king and Mika are still arguing back and forth. They're not going to
Oh, no, I
be
was just
listening,
gonna
and half the crowd is trying to listen to the king and Mika. So,
I'll
I mean,
I'll
what
talk
do you
to
want to say?
people who are listening. I'll be like, my people of hope, people who I care about. These are the true colors of the one who rules you. If this is who you want as a ruler, somebody who blindly will kill in cold blood, and so be it. But
Make a persuasion
want
check
somebody-
with advantage.
Okay.
Keep in mind that like we're kind of in combat. Try not to make long speeches because like it's they're also making speeches.
Oh, no. Wow, okay. I'm going to roll for persuasion. 27 total.
Yeah, the crowd was already on your side, and they continue to be on your side. So you gain nothing,
Awesome.
basically.
I just wanted them to see, like, hey, this is your king. Is this who you really want?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you
Is it-
you don't realize it, but you have their attention because of the magic. The other side of it, you confess to being assassins, and now you're continuing to kill more guards and perpetuate violence against the city. You are you're
I'm not-
saying you're here for hope. You're not part of hope. You are the terrorists. You are the bad guys.
They're not killing the guards, right?
They're
I'm
they're
not even
being
touching
violent against them. They just turned on Theon just because these guys are trying to do their jobs. I'm just saying that from an outside perspective, you guys are continuing to be the problem. But
I
You've
just
got them
squirmed
charmed.
my way out. I haven't attacked.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump up. I'm gonna jump up and try to listen to Mika and the king's conversation.
okay, roll a perception check. Try and hear over the crowd.
30-20.
Okay.
And I do mean I want to try to like move closer to them, as close as I can, basically.
Well, how close do you want to be? You're like 100 feet away. Like it's
I can get
really
us
hard to hear
on.
them.
As close as I can get, really.
How close do you want to get? You can get as close as you want to get.
If I can be
You want
right
me to get us right there?
beside, I will.
Okay, you can start running towards the royal dais, and you'll hear when you hear. To the rest of you, she runs
Right.
off.
And then can I like project their conversation using minor
I don't think so. I mean, that's not really. I don't think that's something that minor illusion really does.
well, it lasts a
Let's
full
see.
minute.
It can be your voice, someone else's voice, a lion's roar.
As loud as
It says someone else's voice, didn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a matter of projecting. The idea is that you are choosing to create an illusionary sound that sounds like someone else's voice. You're not actually projecting. You're not just increasing the volume of someone else's voice. You're creating an entirely new sound. So you could repeat what they're saying and make it sound like them, but it would be
Or you can make it sound or say what you want them to say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just, sound off what they're saying so the people and you guys especially can hear what's going.
All right. So you just get close enough that you try to repeat the juicy bits.
I will get as close to Mika as I can, like even if it's like right up beside her.
All right. There's a guard chasing after you, but you're pretty fast. And there are going to be guards trying to resist you from getting up on the royal dais. Do you want to try and just jump around them?
Yes.
Okay. Make an acrobatics check at advantage thanks to the ring of jumping.
Damn, I got mirror image.
You
Not
said
mine earlier.
advantage?
With advantage, yes.
What?
You're still holding onto a guard, right, Theon?
Yeah, to my knowledge, I basically just have his arm behind his back, kind of in front of me.
Yeah.
What roll was this?
Gotcha.
Acrobatics?
Yeah. So dexterity.
Yeah, then that's a 14.
Okay. Amazingly, as you do the leap and try to get over, one of the guards just like backs up and catches you, and is able to hold you at the edge of the dais. You're close enough to hear, but you're not by Mika's side.
Alright, I'm still gonna project the sound then.
Okay. As you get close enough to hear, you can hear the king saying, "Don't lecture me about justice. There's a price to be paid. You felt it as well as anyone. They're using magics to get out of this. They still killed innocent men." And you can hear Mika say, "The price will be paid, but there's nothing to be gained from destroying more. There's a greater evil than both of us. Or a greater evil to both of us, I should say, not than us. But that together we'll be stronger. We'll be able to fight them more. There's no reason to do this. There's no logic in this. And this is not just." And the king says, "My own wife was going to betray me." And Mika responds, "Your wife is trying to protect your kingdom. You have betrayed your people."
Oh, sorry.
And the king is like teeth glaring. You were saying, Molly Mort?
I just said you right to leave.
Yeah. Now that you've started to project what you get and you're just focusing out at the crowd, they are listening very closely as this barrage after barrage is coming across.
By the way, I was playing the crowd there.
That's perfectly reasonable. Yes. And the king says that she cannot remain to stand. There's no reason for it. And Mika says, "I have a second letter from your father, if that would help."
Oh shit!
Damn.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's literally from the crowd. Oh!
Oh!
And you can see the
Got
king
you by
is
the balls.
stunned back with his eyes kind of wide. And Mika says, "Your queen was supposed to be the successor, not you."
Ooh!
Oh shit. This is juicy.
I just want to point out, I'm really glad if the king gets deposed here, I'm really glad that you show that you're willing to defend the queen by staying on the gallows, because I think that might be in your favor later on. Molly, you are a paragon of justice, and any paladin would be proud.
Thank you.
The king.
I was gonna lean into Theon if he wasn't still holding a guard, and I was gonna be like, I can still make it look like he went mad if you want.
Honestly, I think we should let this play out, but that's up to you guys.
Yeah,
No, I'm gonna let this play out now.
yeah.
I could have just, used Phantasmal Killer, and
I'm all for gossip. Let's let this play out, please.
Yeah, I think if anything, like Fiona's trying to get them to be off the king's side, the half that still is, and maybe would be like, you see, he's not even supposed to be the real king.
The king shakes his head in doubt and disbelief and says, "You lie." And Mika steps a little closer, and her eyes turn a platinum white. And she says, "You know I'm not lying.
Oh,
I can see it. I can see it in your
Wait, what'd you
soul."
say?
It's tough to hear it over the reaction of the crowd, but I'll repeat it. Mika's eyes turn platinum, and she steps closer, and she says, "I know," or she says, "You know I'm not lying. I can see it in your soul. You know that this was
Oh,
not for you."
Well, that explains why he acted so spoiled with it, wanted to take advantage of it while he had.
Mika says, "You can remain king. I don't care about that. But you will abide by just laws. You will protect your people, or your people will find a new king." And the crowd
Which is
is
what I was
just
trying to go for.
going insane.
Oh!
And the king backs up away from Mika again and says, "Guards, take her away!" And the guards look at the king and look at Mika and look at the king. And they look to the queen. And the guard that was holding the queen takes the noose off the queen's neck.
Okay, I was gonna say if her noose is still there, I'm gonna take it off.
Yeah, the guard takes the noose off and bows. And the queen kind of straightens her clothes a bit.
Is this the time that I can say that does the crowd go wild, just like applause?
The crowd is still split in a sense, like they're oddly paused and almost stunned and baited. But then some are still ensorcelled and charmed and cheering. And there's still a couple of them just saying Ormus is hot.
I mean,
I'll
that's
wink at them and kind of like give them the guns, like, "Hey." I'm gonna ride this out while I can. Thank you, Asmodeus.
Anyway,
Thank you, Dio.
but Bahamut nods and says, "But there is a price to be paid." And he turns around to the crowd and he says, "Despite this mortal gift," Mika says with a hand on her chest, eyes still glowing platinum, by the way. She says, "I house the soul of the dragon Bahamut. And this city faces an evil beyond any that you could imagine. Not just your people, but the entire world. You all know it. You've seen it. As the nights grow darker in the sky, as the stars disappear, we face a terrible end if we do not work together. But the price will be paid, and there will be order." And the crowd is just listening. And Mika motions to Thrubain, and Thrubain walks back into the sort of walks towards the guard's hut. And basically, at this point, the king is just sitting in his throne, quiet, watching. Most of the crowd is starting to talk amongst themselves a bit, and everything is kind of silent, and the queen is walking slowly back. Mollymort, you've been let go of. Everyone's been let go of, except of course, of probably the guard that Fiona's holding.
Theon would have let him go when things started to
Okay.
de-escalate.
The rest of the guards will walk towards the royal dais again. The crowd is relaxing a bit more. The queen will stroke your hair, Molly Mort, as she goes by,
She grins.
and she takes a seat beside the king again. And after a few minutes, you can hear almost a heartbreak amongst the crowd, a sort of almost like it's the sort of sense like that people just cried, and it just spreads like a wave coming from the sort of guard building as several guards are carrying stretchers covered in white sheets with forms underneath of them, with Thrubain ahead of them as a funeral procession, presumably of the guards slain by Ormus, come forward. And they're laying at the royal dais, and Mika says out to the crowd again, "We dragons and humans have been together for countless ages. Our fates are intertwined. Amongst many of you, the blood of my kind flows. And it will likely be that way in the future and again. And the price will always be paid." And her hands start to glow platinum. And she kneels down and touches both of the bodies. And the bodies start to glow platinum. And you can see, it's almost like, you ever seen someone pour like hot wax on something? It just spreads out, but it starts to harden and form around a shape. It's like a shell of luminous platinum water, almost like mercury, is spreading out over across of them. And she starts to speak in Draconic. Is anyone close enough to speak Draconic? And close enough to hear these words?
I would have gotten closer after Molly.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Theon and Ormus, if you walked up following the queen, you can now hear Mika asking if they would return and fight for their people, and if they would forgive them, forgive her for letting this happen to them. And after a couple of seconds, there's a as one sits up, and then Mika focuses on the other and closes her eyes and says, "Please," in common instead of Draconic. And all of a sudden you hear, "What's all this then?"
Fuck.
Oh my!
Alive!
As he sits up too, and the platinum drips away from both of them, and the sheets come off, and they're naked under there, but whatever. And they seem to both be alive. The crowd is just loses its shit. There's nothing but the overwhelming noise of just cheering for a very long time. You can't hear yourself breathe. Would you all like
I
to
don't
do
think
anything?
I'm breathing. I'm just in shock. Like, oh fuck.
I'm gonna shout out some fireworks with Minor Illusion.
Nice. There's whole explosions in the sky. And then all of a sudden there's more explosions in the sky, and you can see that it seems like Walter and Jesse are here, and they're lighting stuff on fire and throwing it above the crowd.
Awesome!
But there's crackles of fireworks
Hold on.
and booms. You wonder why they brought them, but whatever, that's not important right now.
I mean, it's Walter
Oh, shit,
and
I
Jesse.
do.
I'm not surprised.
Yes, but there are basically tremendous cheers, and Mika stands up again and says, "Good. Now let's get to work." And anyway, but we'll come back to that later. Lee, unbeknownst to you, all of that occurs, but you, after a very long day of travel, of instantiating goats, riding on goats, exhausting goats, instantiating new goats, and continuing to go along. Um, some would call it the paladin dubstep, where you're able to just, we'll just keep going. But you eventually are able to make your way to the town, assuming you did leave.
I I want to say I already had all my business taken care of, so I think I don't remember anymore, but I'm pretty sure I.
I think you did too. So you soon find yourself, or a day later, find yourself in the large elvish port city of Rima Alora. It's hustling and a bustling. People are going about their business. They seem hard work. Goods are being taken off of ships and loaded onto caravans that are going north. And then some caravans are coming from the west, are being loaded onto other ships. There's a lot of commerce going on at the ports. There's surprisingly amount of blacksmiths here. A lot of people um, manufacturing goods. You think that they are taking in raw goods from the west, processing them, and then shipping them out across the sea, maybe. But anyway, what do you want to do? I think you forgot.
Huh?
I think you were trying to find a ship.
No, I didn't. What? I didn't say I forgot. You were talking.
Oh, go on. What do you want to do?
No, I didn't say I forgot. I was gonna say I don't know where to go to find a ship.
Well, the docks seem to have quite a few of them. In terms of who to talk to about which ship is going where, yeah, you have no idea. You could maybe talk to a harbor master or just start asking people in the nice way that paladins tend to do.
I'm gonna go to the docks and, based off of my knowledge from living in Bacata, I'm going to find where I think I should go to ask about finding passage to whatever the name of the island was.
All right. You quickly find the busiest person that you can. He is likely an assistant to the dockmaster, if not the dockmaster themselves. And you're trying to find passage to the island of Elatos?
Yes.
Yeah.
Townia.
Yeah, the town of Tanya, exactly, on the island of Elatos. You don't know if Tanya even has a port, but whatever. You're trying to get to the island of Elatos in the least.
Yes.
So go ahead and roll maybe a persuasion check or just a straight charisma check or something.
I think it's probably good to point out that Lee is carrying his own equipment right now because both of his goats have been desummoned to rest.
You could actually, because I looked into it a bit more, when you summon your goats again, they refresh their hit points and they remove all effects. So they are not exhausted. You could resummon them again.
I'm just gonna make the choice to not do that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that I rode both of them hard and they both worked very hard and they deserve a
Oh
rest.
my god.
Even though they don't need to rest, you let them rest. How wonderful.
They don't need to rest mechanically, but
Mm-hmm. You want to keep that love. I understand.
I love them.
Exactly.
You couldn't have chosen a better term of words, bud.
Look, man.
Do what?
He's alone. Who knows how long he's gonna be alone. If he wants to love him some goats, let him love him some goats.
I'm not
I
judging.
got really
I'm
uncomfortable.
just pointing it out.
You were saying, Lee?
You want me to make a persuasion check to ask what?
Something. Some that are just even sort of a general charisma in terms of like, hi, I'm someone you don't know, and I'm just asking for time. I'm just curious. Like, well, I mean, you don't really need to roll if you don't want to, I guess. But
I mean, I can. I just I would basically go up to what looks like, I guess, a clerk to me.
yeah.
based off of my knowledge of like I've been in a coast city before, I would probably know who to talk to, who would be in charge.
Well, you know,
Or
a lot of these ships are, independent. It's not unlike Morningstar, where all the ships are scheduled. They don't know what's coming usually, but they can try.
Oh, they don't know who's coming. They don't have like regulated like a harbor master or something.
Well, they know who's here, but these are all independent ships. They don't know, for all they know, that these people will choose to go someplace else next time.
Okay.
They don't control who's coming in.
Well, I'm gonna say hi, Lee Reed, and stick out a hand to shake his hand. Is it like an elven man or something?
Yes.
Okay, I'll stick out my hand.
Bit of a northern accent on you?
That's right, from the city of Picata.
Ah. You can immediately see just he probably doesn't like Picata. Anyway, go on.
So I know why.
Probably not. I think Lee drinks the Kool-Aid.
That
Probably
means
something
he's
simple. Who knows?
I think Lee really likes Picata, but I think the rest of the world kind of looks at it as a backward place. Or at least it was before, and now it's just a mess. It might get better, but for a very long time, it was a place that most people didn't want to go.
understand the prejudice against it that he probably wouldn't catch that. Oh well, just doesn't like Picata.
Hmm.
Okay, I get that. That makes sense.
Anyway, go on.
Looking for a ship across the White Sea to a island of Elitos. You know who I can talk to find passage.
Elitos. What region is it in?
Do I know what region it's in?
You kind of got a gist from talking with let's just call him Derek, unless I get his real name. Anyway, from speaking with the previous guy, that it was sort of south and in the center of the sea. Like it's kind of on the sort of along the southern coast, in the center of the White Sea. Like not on the left, not on the right, or not on the west and the east per se, but kind of south central. You don't really know the name of that region, if there is a name, but it's in that kind of area.
I'll try to describe to him where I think it's at.
Sorry, I think I currently have our maps.
It's fine. He says, "Oh, that's rough. That area is a whole archipelago. It's covered in islands, big and small. I've never heard of that one."
Maybe if
go
I
on.
maybe if I can get to the area, I can find somebody a little more familiar with the lay of the land there. I just need to get to the general area really, and then I can probably find somebody to guide me to that island specifically.
Oh, I can certainly get you within 50 miles of that, no problem. There's plenty of ships going there all the time.
Sounds good to me.
He said,
Can you, sorry, go ahead. I don't.
no,
think
please, go ahead.
there's a little bit of a delay, and I think that's why we end up talking at the same time.
It's fine. Go on.
I don't remember. I guess. Yeah. Can you point me in the direction of the ship? That's all I was going to ask, and it looked like you were already telling me.
He says that there are several ships that are unlikely to go in that area that make regular trade routes to that particular region and do offer a lot of goods, after all. Let's see here. And he kind of walks you over to the bit of the dock, and he says, if you go to, let's see, berth 11 and 12, both going that way, 17 and 24, I believe.
Do I need to write these numbers down?
Not necessarily, as long as Lee can remember them.
Okay, I'm gonna say Lee can probably remember them. Lee actually writes them down, but all I remember is 17 and 24.
Okay, yeah, it's 11, 12, 17, and 4. Or 24. But yeah, you can go along on this particular dock and go to these ships. And they seem to be, some of them kind of smaller. The 11 and 12 ones are fairly small, at least. I mean, they look to be. Have you ever seen like the Roman style sailing vessels, just one big sail?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically that. These are like barges almost.
Okay.
They
Uh,
likely can't sail year round, but they can sail right now.
um, based off of what little knowledge Lee might have, and I can ask about it too if I don't know, but I'll actually ask him while he's here. You know, you probably know a little bit more about the industry than I do, of course. Could you tell me which one of these you think could get there the fastest?
He says, "Oh, fastest, fastest. Hmm. Are we including stops?"
Uh, yeah.
He says,
Uh,
"Well, the larger the ship, usually the more cargo it might be picking up. Depending on what it's picking up, it might stop several times as it goes."
understandable. Um, so you think probably I'd be better off with one of the smaller ships? Can't go as fast, but it would stop less.
Those ships in particular, he points to the 11 and 12 bursts. He says, "Those are actually from that area. They're mostly here just to pick up, I think, most, well, what they're picking up is none of my business, of course, or none of yours at least." And he says, "But they are most likely going to be going home, but they're a bit slower."
It would suit my purposes. Thank you. And can I make like an insight check or something to see if it's appropriate to tip here?
Sure.
Oh
I
wow.
pulled that wrong. I didn't put the D.
I was about to say,
That's more accurate.
appropriate or not, it never hurts.
I'll, uh, I'll pass him a little bit of a tip. I'll give him a couple of silver.
A couple of silver. He looks at it. His eyes go wide a little bit, and he
Was that too
quickly
much?
puts it
Yeah.
into a pocket and says, "Thank you."
It's like, thank you for all your help. And I'll give him a little wink and start walking over towards 11 and 12.
I just imagine Lee just tipped him 2 weeks' salary.
Something along those lines.
Silver, is that much? I didn't know.
He basically, it's a good amount of money. It's a pretty good amount of money.
We should know money in this universe, so I can't really explain. Like, this is just me not understanding the money in the universe because
Okay.
either that or it's always been very well off paid. You know?
To put it into comparison, I mean, well, it's not like it's a huge amount, but essentially it depends on, like, if in a situation like this, if somebody gives you some info, you would probably in our currency give them like what, $5,
Yeah,
10.
that sounds right.
Okay, you gave them, if you, how many silver did you give them?
Just two.
Okay, so yeah, it's pretty close in terms of the equivalent in some respect to some, because again, there's a sort of like a caste-esque kind of a system. Some places are more, some places are less. As a busy clerk, he probably makes somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5 silver a day.
All right. Was
So
Lee
overall, you giving him 2 silver, like you just paid for a really good lunch and dinner.
all right?
So equivalent of like, well, not really good, but equivalent essentially like $50.
Oh shit! I did not realize.
Yeah. So he's just like, "Oh, okay, thank you."
Lee should have a better understanding of this because, like, he's been in the working force for years now. I just don't know how much he was being paid at that time.
I understand. Yeah, and money is one of those. Depending on what regions, it can vary greatly. Usually, the further you go south, the higher the prices are going to get. But basically, like I said, an equivalent. You just gave them a pretty good tip. If you want to consider it like a really good meal is going to cost a silver.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, so a good meal will be about a silver. A good room at an inn will be about 5 silver.
How much was Lee making before as a guard? Because he'd probably be more likely to spend money the way he was as a guard.
In terms of what he was getting, he was probably getting maybe a gold a day. Maybe like, maybe not a gold a day. Maybe a gold a day. I mean, as a paladin.
Yeah. He's part of the COGS, the specialized force, special training. Give him a little bit better pay.
Maybe an equivalent of a gold a day, probably. But typically, your typical hireling is going to get paid about 2 silver a day, and if you were to get like a good specialist, like if you were going to hire a medic or not usually a wizard, but if you were going to hire someone who's really good at a trade, maybe 2 gold a day is kind of like that's an equivalent of like a 6-figure salary.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll. Well, oh crap, it's 7.
But really quickly, if you go over to one of them, basically, brother, do you have a moment? Do you guys mind going a little late? Can you?
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Because we did start like a half an hour late.
I unfortunately cannot. Our grocery store closes at 8, and I have to get groceries for the week.
I know the feeling. That's okay. We
Yeah.
will pick it up next week with figuring out where and when Lee goes, and hopefully we'll figure out if Aldrin lives or is living currently.